As is customary in our school board meetings, we begin our meeting with an invocation. This week, that shall be provided by Mr. Tim Weisire, our school board member from District 3. Our Pledge of Allegiance will be performed by Sherry Waretka. She's our bullying prevention specialist. The national anthem will be provided to us by the chorus from Parkway Middle School. Our mission statement will be read by Megan Gold, principal of Parkway Middle School. Translation services provided by our multicultural department, the executive director, Belinda Reyes. And then we will do positive comments. Let us begin. Mr. Weisire.
Thank you. If you'll please stand and join me as we pray. God, we come before you this evening grateful for your love, your mercy, your grace that you provide to each one of us. We are grateful for the opportunity to give each one of us in our respective areas of life to serve and to honor you. We pray for your wisdom and discernment this evening, that we would seek first to understand and then to be understood, that we would choose to honor you in the thoughts and actions that we take as a board, and that we be ever mindful of the responsibility placed upon us to serve and honor the students entrusted to our care. We gather here tonight asking for your wisdom, your discernment, your protection. It's in Christ's name that I pray. Amen.
Say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof to the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Good job. Good job.
Good evening. Our mission statement is inspiring all learners to reach their highest potential as responsible, productive citizens.
Good afternoon. My name is Belinda Reyes, and I am here to provide translation services. Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Belinda Reyes y estoy aquí para proveer servicios de traducción.
All right, we thank everyone for helping us get this meeting off to a very good start. This time, I will call for positive comments from the board members. I'll begin with District 1.
Thank you. I have quite a few, but I'll be brief. So first of all, I'd like to recognize a young man from Celebration High School, Mr. Kevin Swami, who he's an Eagle Scout, and he actually built a ramp for one of the community members as a project for his organization. So I just wanted to give him a shout out. He's an amazing young man, and I'm so glad that his mom shared that news with me. I also had the privilege of attending our committee week in Tallahassee this week, and I just want to say that I am so privileged to be able to work with such amazing people, and being in that room, pleading our case, really made me proud to serve on this board, and we definitely got a lot of shout outs for being as organized as we are, especially for Dr. Pace. And I am the first one, so I know that a lot of people will be saying this, but I am going to go first. Mr. Fritz, I'm getting a little emotional. Congratulations on your new position. But I do want to say that I am sad to see you go. I think that you're an incredible person. And I know that the last year, as my ramp-up year on the board was instrumental. You were instrumental in helping me to really understand and navigate this crazy world of the school board and the school district. I am sad to see you go, but I know that you're going to do amazing things. So congratulations on your new role.
Thank you.
Mr. Thacker.
I don't really have anything, just with the holidays coming up, everybody has a great and fun Thanksgiving week and enjoys their time off to reconnect. And Mr. Fritz, I'll catch up with you later.
Mr. Weissier, you.
Yeah, if I'm correct, the Osceola School Board hasn't voted yet to allow you to leave. Yeah. You know how I feel about you personally and professionally. You're an amazing human being. You're a great asset to this school district. You will be a phenomenal superintendent for the Volusia County School Board. I know that without a doubt. I've had a few conversations as that conversation was happening about you and post-vote, and I can tell you that there is a community that is excited about you and your leadership. And as much as we hate to see you go, we rejoice in it because we know it's about the continual progression of you and exactly what you've represented in communicating with our staff and our students here in Osceola County is that we continue to move forward. We continue to become everything that we're supposed to be, and we continue to pursue excellence in who we are. And you represent all of that, and I couldn't be more proud of you.
Thank you.
You bet. I'll also, one sec, also want to recognize it's an honor to have a Liberty High School student with us tonight. Looking forward to spending the time with you over the next number of meetings that we'll share. And then, as Mr. Thacker said, it is Thanksgiving, and we all have so much to be thankful for, even in difficult times that we all may suffer or that we may have to navigate in life. I'm very confident that if we all reflect and look, we will find countless things in our lives that we can be thankful for, including our health, our family, the opportunity to live in this great country, and the opportunity to be part of this great institution that we all have an opportunity to serve in some capacity. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Thank you, Chairman Soto and members of the board. I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to thank just so many people for making our third annual Choice Fair I think it's our fourth annual Choice Fair, a tremendous success. Dr. Carmen Balgobin is here. She's our Executive Director for Charter and Choice, but it took so many hands to help make that happen. Her team, the community relations team, teams from every single school were represented across the district, and we had over 5,400 parents and students come through our Choice Fair. We received over 700 initial choice applications, and the majority of those were for new kindergarten students. So we're excited that parents are starting early to make good, informed decisions about the best place for their 5-year-olds to start school next August, and we're really excited to be that choice district that has open opportunities for kids, but also encourages parents to make good, firm, informed decisions. And then finally, speaking of Thanksgiving, it is a tremendous time of the year. We are very, very blessed, and I am very, very blessed to work with just a wonderful group of very caring, generous, and kind-hearted people, including all of our board members, but certainly all of our staff. We had our Basket Brigade kickoff today here at the district office. Over 90 baskets of Thanksgiving goodies were packed lovingly and decorated to bring not just an opportunity for a great, delicious meal to families in our community who are in need, but also some cheer for the holidays and spirits. Ms. Campbell, Leslie Campbell, Special Programs team really leads the way. We're very excited to partner with Joe LaRosa Realty and Mr. LaRosa and his family to help make that happen. And Saturday morning at 9 a.m., the baskets will start to be distributed, and it's just a tremendous opportunity and a great outpouring of success and generosity from all of you. So thank you.
Board, if you don't mind, I'd like to give Dr. Fritz an opportunity to respond.
Well, I got to tell you that this last 4 years has certainly been a high point in my professional and personal career, and I'm very grateful to the encouragement of this board to pursue this position. I'm also very grateful to my mentor and our team in this room. So my success is your success, and I thank you very much for that, and I hope to make you proud.
You will.
Indeed. And just briefly, congratulations, Dr. Scott, Dr. Fritz. This is the thing. It's kind of bittersweet, but mostly I'm very proud that Volusia County is going to get a leader like yourself, who I got to know, whose integrity is above reproach, who cares about all the students and their families and the staff and everybody in the county. And, so it is absolutely their gain. And I'm very proud for Dr. Pace for having been able to produce and help grow a superintendent. That's quite an accomplishment, Dr. Pace, and congratulations. With that, welcome to our student representative, Nina Vandenberg. Why is it that when I think about Nina, I think about balloons? Let's see if anyone can go ahead and figure that out. In any case, yeah, balloons. Movie? No, no movies. Kind of, maybe. Anyways, little 80s reference for everyone. All right, so next up on our agenda is our presentation, recognition of the 2018-19 PBIS model schools. Ms. Redka, welcome.
Thank you. So thank you to the school board and all the leadership members for your support with PBIS and its implementation in our district. Before I get started with our model schools, I want to take a moment to highlight or brag on our superintendent. So I hope you don't mind. Dr. Heather George, who's the co-director of the Florida MTSS PBIS project from University of South Florida, has invited our very own Dr. Pace, along with Dr. Curtis Jones, who is the 2019 National Superintendent of the Year, to present with her at the 2020 APBS International Conference that's going to be in Miami in March. And their session is going to be Leading is Believing, learning how our nation's superintendents have made PBIS a priority. So I wanted to make sure that you all knew that she was asked and she's agreed to present. So it's a very proud moment for me to have Osceola County represented at an international conference, especially regarding behavior. So I just wanted to let you all know that yay for Dr. Pace. So now I want to recognize some of our schools in the district that implement PBIS, and they've achieved the honor of becoming a model school. Just to give you an idea, they have to meet certain criteria that's set by the project from University of South Florida. They have to implement PBIS highly on their campus. They demonstrate low rates of exclusionary discipline, and when compared to other schools across the state, they demonstrate equitable student outcomes when we look at our equity reports. Their administrative team have all been trained in PBIS. They've maintained or increased their academic and performance and also their attendance rates, and they've also showed academic growth. So I have some administrators in the room along with some of their team members, because PBIS is definitely a team effort. It's not something that one person does. They work together. So I'd like for our silver award winners, which are Neptune Middle School and Westside K-8. And before they come, could I have Dr. Pace and Mr. Soto come down and greet them as they come? Thank you.
Absolutely.
So Neptune Middle School, if you could come, and Westside K-8. Those are our silver awards. And then we also have some gold awards, and that is Denjon Middle School and Discovery Intermediate School, Parkway Middle School, and Neptune Elementary School. So these schools will be receiving a banner, but we're actually holding the banners because we're going to present them at the superintendent's meeting in December. So we want to make sure we give you guys lots of kudos. So I thank all of you for your hard work, because it definitely takes a team, so I appreciate your support.
Good looking.
This is an example of that it's truly a team effort to effectively implement positive behavior support in your schools. You're going to have to squish it.
Before our next presentation, board, any comments? Anything on this presentation?
Congratulations to everyone.
Great job.
Yeah.
Just briefly, it's very, very important, the initiatives and the work that school districts are doing today. Make no mistake about it, that these initiatives, PBIS, anything that we do to help our students cope, there's a lot of difficult things that are going on with young people. And this directly ties into our school environment to make it more positive and really attenuate some of the stresses that are going on. So just really appreciate the work that you do. Our next presentation is the Smart Bus. Ms. Leslie Campbell with our Special Services, Student Services, will present.
Thank you very much. I want to apologize because the actual presentation is lost in cyberland somewhere right now. I don't know where it is, but I can go on and talk through it with you. The history, no, they don't have it back there. I don't know what happened to it. You know. So,
Just finally came up on my agenda.
you have it on yours?
Took
No.
about 4
It came
times.
up on Board Docs.
It came
So
up
it is
on.
on Board Docs, so they can see it if they look at it in Board Docs.
Okay.
But we-
I was going to say, I know we sent it, but they just said
We're
they
not going to
don't
be able to
have
get it on the screen?
Let me see if I can get it.
Just see.
Because we just printed it.
Yeah. There's no rush.
I'm sorry.
this
They
is-
just told me back in the back. They said we don't have it.
This
So-
is just such wonderful news. It's worth us taking the effort to see if we could
I
share it with
apologize.
everyone the way it was intended.
Is there a 12-year-old in the room?
We're the Parkway students.
No.
Let me give you a little history. We're
Let's know
waiting
who to
for it to
call.
come up. There was these two brothers at Celebration High School that did a project, and it was called the Homework Bus. And they bought this dilapidated bus off of Craigslist and kind of fixed it up, and they got used laptops. And for their presentation for school, they took this to the Star Motel twice, okay, and did some homework with kids. So now they're leaving, and they're going to Georgia for college, and they so generously donated this to the school district. And Dr. Pace and I were so excited about it and the opportunity and all, but when it got to transportation basically said, no go, we can't transport in this, we can't use this. But we were so excited about the opportunity that we met with transportation and said, we have some old buses that we're not really wanting to use right now, but we could still renovate and do this project with. So this is not like the Smart Lab and, millions of dollars of investment or anything. We're taking an old school bus, getting it, renovating it. I'm waiting for it to come up. So the first thing is we got out the inside of it, and there's 11 workstations in there with laptops and Wi-Fi. And our goal initially for the pilot is to take this up and down 192 to the hotels where we have homeless students that don't have access to internet and Wi-Fi. And we would go to there, and they'd be able to come on and do homework. They'd have access to anything in ClassLink. Okay, they would just use the regular a school ID number to access ClassLink, and anything in there, from elementary to high school, they could use. They would be able to do assignments and projects off the internet, credit recovery for high school students, and we could also partner with Mr. Cook on down the line to meet with parents and do things like financial aid and college applications. On the 192 corridor, we have approximately 500 students living in motels up and down 192. And like I said earlier, they really have limited access to internet and anything they have to do on computers to do their homework. So this is one of the reasons we'd like to pilot this and see if we can go and reach those students. We have selected the hotels that have the most students enrolled in them. We have 4 motels that we're going to go to, and we'd be able to hit approximately 88 students weekly. So we'd be able to get to about 20% of the students up and down 192 in this pilot. Because of the funding we use for it, we can also use the Smart Bus for anything we want throughout the district, at other district events, that type of thing. It's not limited just to Title I students in Title I. We're going to go to the Uno Boutique. They have 44 students registered there. We have 2 hotels, Lake Cecile Inn and the Star Motel. They're side by side, so we're going to go to those. And then also to the Duo Boutique. So if you look across the county, we're here, here, and here. So we're going to try to hit all different parts of it. We're going to go Monday through Thursday, and we're going to hold 2 sessions. So the first session would be like from 4 to 5, 11 students. Then they come off the bus. We give them food to take in, for dinner. And then the next group would come for an hour, and then they would get food when they leave too. So, and we'd be at the different hotels. So hopefully we'd be able to book 88 students. Okay, this is what I think is the really good part, because we can do it very inexpensive. The total renovations cost $40,000. That is gutting it, flooring, stations, computers, AC, lighting, generator. Basically redoing the whole thing. Personnel costs, we're estimating on a whole year, 12 months in the summer, after school, weekends, $30,000. And this is OPS for current employees. We would not be hiring additional personnel to staff the bus for these different events that we're doing. That money is coming from the Title IX homeless grant. So it's grant funded, it's not coming out of our base. And the same thing with the $40,000, that's coming out of a grant allocation too. It's going to cost about $6,000, maybe $500 a month to operate the bus. So I'm just very excited about the opportunity to be able to reach kids that need help, and and just that's the first step, what we can do. We also are in negotiations with Orlando Health for a $25,000 grant to use in June and July, that we would be partnering, taking the Smart Bus out to our feeding sites. So we'd already have students there, and we would do a nutritional education training plus literacy, and they'd get free books, and we'd be able to go to all kinds of locations all over the county. So we're really excited about what we can do with this, and working to try to keep it on the road during the day, in the evening, on the weekends. So I'm so excited. I'm sorry about, it's up. It's up now. Do you want, I'm going to talk through the whole thing.
Oh, no, we were following along.
Okay, you got it on there? Yeah. Do you guys have any questions or anything for me?
I don't have any questions. I just want to commend you for putting this together. And, of course, the students who initially came up with the idea. This really helps to kind of close that achievement gap, and having accessibility to the internet, which I think we all take for granted. We're constantly on the internet, and we don't understand that is so important for education these days. So I want to just commend you for it.
Thank you.
And, just using grant money in order to achieve this is quite an accomplishment.
Anybody else? Anything? Okay.
Well, first of all, everyone here knows what Special Services does every day for so many, many students. You know that ideas could come from everywhere. And if it's a good idea, then we need to pursue it. And as Ms. Castillo mentioned, this came from students, was brought to us, and your department is taking it, and the district is taking it to another level. I just want to go ahead, can someone bring up slide number 4 real quick, so that we could put into a graphic what we're talking about?
Right.
So explain this map.
This map is where the 500 students living in hotels are located on the 192 corridor. So that's the stretch of students we have, in hotels.
Yeah.
Right.
And we have a lot of definitions for homelessness, but these students and the ones that are living in the fish camps and in cars, they're what I consider our true homeless students. They really are displaced and don't have adequate and consistent housing. So these are the students we're targeting. If you go, I think it's 2 more, it'll show where
Number
the
6?
hotels. Yeah,
Yeah.
1 more. That's where the hotels are located that we're going to initially try to, so we can try to hit all the different parts. It's kind of where they're, and people from neighboring hotels could come too. It's not just going to be just those hotels. Kids that want to come sign on and come on, they can come on to the bus.
All right.
So-
And on page 8, we have what we foresee is going to be the initial schedule.
Yes.
Slide 8.
1 more. Hannah, 1 more. Yeah, sorry. Sorry. So we would be doing 2 one-hour sessions a day at each location that we're at. So we go to the Uno Hotel and do a 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock 1 hour for 11 students, and then we would switch them out and bring another 11 students on from 5:15 to 6:15.
How are we advertising this, or are we just advertising it to certain students? How are we getting the word out?
What we're going to do, we want to start this in January.
Yes.
Okay, so this would be a January start. We're going to send individual invites to the students at school, because some of these hotels, we don't have their room number or anything, so
Right.
we're sending them home with the students. Then we're going to actually have a date that we're going to go there and sign people up. 1 day, 2 days, however many days, but we're going to send it, and then we're actually going to go to the location so we can talk to the parents, sign them up, explain, that you have to be there after they're done, that kind of thing.
Right.
So we're, just so we can, and it's a pilot, so we're going to do a lot of hand-holding. It's staying in my department. I have staff that are certified teachers that have already volunteered that they would do the initial training so we can work out any issues we have. And I have 2 staff that are certified bus drivers. They're going to do the OPS to take it, back and forth. So just try to figure out how to do it right. And we are also working with school nutrition services to be able to give them some food, not on the bus, but as they leave and go back to their hotel rooms, they would have food to take with them for the evening.
Thank you, as always, for your continued work in serving not just our schools, but our community. Your department really does an exceptional job of getting beyond the 4 walls of a schoolhouse and engaging our students and family at sometimes their greatest place of need. And I'm grateful for you and the work of your entire department. This is an exciting initiative that I think, as Ms. Castillo had mentioned, is going to provide access and opportunity to students that otherwise may not have had that chance. I'd like to talk to you more about this maybe tomorrow or Wednesday. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Tomorrow or Thursday, and just unpack it a little bit further and see where there's areas that I might be able to help you with this as well.
I love that. Thank you
Yeah,
so
it'd be
much.
my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you all. It's
Thank you,
our
Ms.
pleasure
Campbell.
to serve our students, our families, and our community. And I think this is going to be a really great initiative once we work out all the pieces and parts and be able to expand it to do other things. I'd like to keep it on the road all day, in the afternoons, on the weekends, be able to utilize it as a big resource for our community and students.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Ms. Otterson, for fixing that slide. All right, so, folks, board, it's come to time for public comments. And I don't have any public comments, right? Nobody has signed up to speak. All right, seeing that we don't have anyone that wishes to address the board, we're going to recess at this time and begin our board workshop for rules, I believe. Yes?
Good evening, board members and Dr. Pace. Tonight's board workshop is...
by the way, I'm sorry.
Sorry, you go ahead.
This is an opportunity for those folks that came in for the presentations and for other matters. You may leave at this time. The rest, or you can stay. It's just going to be board business from this point forward. So just give it like 60 seconds.
Sure. No problem.
Yeah, thanks. Read my mind.
Mr. Boyd, you may proceed.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, board members and Dr. Pace. We're bringing to you this workshop several changes to our school board rules that we're proposing and our student progression plan as part of that. So I will read into the record a summary of those, beginning with School Board Rule 4.11. We have proposed revisions that revise the policy language to implement changes within Section 1003.4282, requirements for a standard high school diploma, Florida statutes, specifically revising paragraph 1 to add the new Career and Technical Education, CTE, graduation pathway option. This change will also be included in the student progression plan change summary that I get to in a moment. For Rule 4.18, Academic and Career Planning, we're proposing to revise that policy language to implement changes within Section 1003.4156, general requirements for middle grades promotion, Florida statutes, specifically revising paragraph 1 to clarify that beginning in this 2019-20 school year, middle school students shall complete a career and education planning course in order to be promoted to high school. It revises paragraph 1 also to specify that the career and education planning course must be internet-based, customizable to each student, and include research-based assessments to assist with determining educational and career options and goals. And it adds paragraphs 2D through 2G to include as required course components information on high school diploma designations, the Florida Bright Futures Scholarships Program, Florida State College and University admission requirements, and opportunities available to earn college credit in high school, including advanced placement AP courses, International Baccalaureate IB program, and the Advanced International Certificate of Education, AC program, dual enrollment, and career education courses. For Rule 5.09, requirements for original entry, this revises the policy language to implement changes within Sections 381.003, communicable disease and AIDS prevention and control, and 1003.22, school entry health examinations, immunization against communicable diseases, exemptions, duties of the Department of Health, Florida statutes. Specifically revising paragraph 1 to add that any student who enrolls in the school district must have on file with the immunization registry a certificate of immunization, or if excluded, from participation with the school. Rule 5.18, Children of Military Families, revises policy language to implement changes within Section 1003.05, Clause 4, assistance to transitioning students from military families, Florida statutes. It adds paragraph 3 to define enrollment of students from military families based upon official military orders instead of residency. Rule 6.145, substitute teachers, deletes paragraph 5 to remove certification requirements for substitute teachers that are no longer required by state law. Rule 6.20, certification of administrative and instructional personnel, revises this policy language to implement changes within Sections 1012.56 educator certification requirements, and 1012.57 certification of adjunct instructors, Florida statutes. It adds paragraphs 1A and 1B to comply with the requirement that the school district shall document district and state level resources available to assist certification applicants who have not passed the Florida Teacher Certification Examination, FTCE, General Knowledge Examination, and adds paragraph 3 to establish the minimal qualifications for the issuance of school district-specific certificates which provide eligibility for employment but no right to employment, and to define adjunct educator. Rule 6.21, District Certificates, deletes paragraph 1 to remove certification requirements for substitute teachers that are no longer required by state law. And then the next set of changes all are in the student progression plan. The first proposed change revises the policy document to comply with recent changes in state law and to provide consistency with district precedent and current practice. Specifically, the second change revises the language to correct a typographical error from grades 6 through 12 to grades 6 through 8 in the section entitled Placement Transfer Students, grades 6 through 8. Then there's a revision to the language to implement changes within Section 1003.4156, General Requirements for middle grades promotion, Florida statutes, adding the Career and Education Planning course requirement for middle school students. And then there's language that is revised to implement changes within 1003.4282, Requirements for a Standard High School Diploma, Florida statutes, specific to implementing the requirement that the district offers a new 1/2 credit elective, a financial literacy course. And the last revision revises the language to implement changes within Section 1003.4282, Requirements for a Standard High School Diploma, Florida statutes, adding the new Career and Technical Education, CTE, graduation pathway option. That completes the list of the proposed changes for this workshop. We did have staff contact us for 2 additional changes at your pleasure if you'd like me to include them when we come back to you in January for the public hearing, and they would be on the topics of homeless students and small vehicle operators if we can get the policy language drafted for you in time, if it's your pleasure.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Boyd.
Thank you.
Board, and any questions, comments, input, discussion?
John, on the 2 additional that you mentioned, is that something that's been emailed to us to review?
No, sir,
There's
it
no
has
language
not.
written yet?
I apologize. Go ahead.
That's okay. No, you're
I was just
fine.
saying, I just found out about them this week, so I was going to ask if your pleasure would be to include them this round, or we can bring them to a future rulemaking cycle. The opportunity to make these changes might have some benefit for us. We can talk offline, but I just wanted to do due diligence for staff that requested it and
Sure.
bring it forward.
And I only asked because I want to make sure that I didn't miss an email.
You
or
did
something,
not.
So that's
No,
fine.
sir.
I don't know that if you're looking for feedback, board, my feedback, I don't know that I have a problem with you moving forward, provided that each board member gets a brief on exactly what it is that we're proposing. If there's any issue, I think you'll hear a general consensus offline through the superintendent from each board member of what the concern, if any, might be. Otherwise, if it's advantageous from a timing standpoint to move them forward, then I would say move forward and let's debrief offline about it and see where we go. That'd be my opinion, board.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? All right, so
Thank you, board members.
we'll go ahead and
You're welcome.
recess this workshop and reconvene our
Thank
school
you.
board meeting. Item is agenda modifications. So board members, are there any modifications starting from Ms. Castillo?
I know I'm abstaining. No modifications.
No modifications from Mr. Thacker, Mr. Weissier?
Yeah, I would pull item 12.01.
All right. And how would you like that to be addressed?
We'll just deal with it during regular agenda, however you see fit, Chair.
Very well, thank you. Madam Superintendent,
I have no adjustments.
very well.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
could I just point out for the record, item 14.01, as titled, reflects the approval of the 16th Amendment to the Bright House Networks contract. The contract is actually now being held in the name of Spectrum because they acquired and are the successor in interest. So I raise it to ask Ms. Culver, can you just make sure the minutes reflect that that contract was succeeded? Because if anybody ever goes back and looks and says, where's the Spectrum approval, they're going to get confused.
Can we make that amendment? Yes?
I make a motion to approve the agenda. Oh, I'm sorry. I
Yeah, no, I
apologize.
apologize. And Chair, I also forgot to mention, I'd like to just add under board member comments, just a brief mention of Bella Lago Academy.
All right, very well. All right, so, Mr. Thacker?
I move for the approval of the consent agenda and the agenda modification with removing item 12.01 to the regular agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so a motion by Mr. Thacker to approve the agenda with modifications, and a second by Ms. Castillo. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. The vote passed 4-0. Information items, agenda items. So we have information on the investment performance review for the quarter ended September 30th by Mr. Scott Stitcher from PFM. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Soto.
And board members, I just wanted to point out, you're used to Richard Pengelly providing this update quarterly. He had a last-minute mix-up, so he has sent his colleague Scott to do the presentation, and I do want to apologize that there was also a mix-up getting the PowerPoint loaded. The full 67-page investment report is in board docs and has been there for your review, but the abridged version that we usually show during the presentation is not up for the public to see.
Right. So our apologies there, but it looks like this. So hopefully you do have that.
So
They
just-
have the long version.
They have the long version?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ms. Graber, if you'll just get a message back to our friend that we appreciate the upgrade tonight. It's great to have you here, sir.
That's kind of you.
Yeah.
And I was going to say 99 red balloons, Mr. Soto. Your reference to the 80s was not lost on me. Spelled differently, though, N-E-N-A, but...
That's right, that's right. And
But
the
thank
original
you.
song was in German, but.
That's true.
You know, why
I'm
we
not
gotta get.
concerned about both.
You just made a lifelong friend, just so you know.
So I'm fortunate and privileged to be here to address you this morning or this evening, and I actually get to deliver really good news as well. So my peer set me up for to look good this evening in front of you. So I'm going to just speak first right to performance of the surplus fund that we're privileged to manage on behalf of the school district. The surplus fund for the most recent quarter end was up 0.66% versus the benchmark at 0.58%. What's even better is the trailing 12 months. For the 1 year ending September 30th, the portfolio was up 4.42% versus the benchmark at 4.35%. But I want to make some comments around the general economy and the capital markets, and then talk a little bit about why achieving returns like this past year might be difficult going forward, okay? So you hopefully have seen this page before. It's a portfolio summary slide. I want to make some high-level comments on this page. We ended the quarter at $108,343,591 in the surplus fund. You'll note in the upper left corner there's a pie chart with credit ratings. I'll just note that the portfolio is a very high credit quality. It carries an average credit quality of AA. Also to the right is another pie chart that gives you a sector allocation. And just note there that it is a well-diversified portfolio. You own everything that's allowable by Florida state statute, as well as what's permitted by your investment policy. I also will point you down to the maturity distribution and note that the majority of your portfolio is in what we call the 1 to 2 and 2 to 3 year part of the yield curve, or 1 to 2, 2 to 3 year type maturity securities. And I'm going to speak more to that a little bit later and why that's important. An interesting slide that was in the market update looks like this. It's around corporate issuance. So corporate issuance was pretty spectacular in September. And this low-rate environment that we have been in for some time and have moved back towards more recently has made, it's done two things. It's made issuing debt for corporations very affordable and very attractive to do so. It's almost free money for corporations. And because of that, September was the third busiest month on record as far as issuance is concerned. And the first week of September was actually the busiest single week on record. So issuing debt's attractive to corporations, but it's also attractive to investors. In this low-rate environment, corporate notes offer additional yield over treasuries and agencies. And that's going to be quite important, has been quite important in the past. It's going to be important as we move forward again in this low-rate environment. So I mentioned earlier that your portfolio is well diversified. A good portion of that money is in treasuries and agencies. About 75% of the portfolio is in that for the safety and liquidity those sectors offer. But another almost 23% is in corporate notes. So this is why I'm spending a little time on corporate notes. It's the third largest sector in your portfolio, and it has been beneficial over time. And again, we think it will continue to add value going forward. We'll be very selective in the corporate names that we add to your portfolio. So page 4 is a snapshot of the yield curve. It also speaks to the reference that I've made a number of times already in the fact that we're in a low-rate environment and that interest rates fell during the course of the quarter and have fallen dramatically year to date. And as a fixed income investor, as interest rates fall, that's good for a fixed income investor. As interest rates fall, bond prices go up. So you'll note that the change in yield, again, I showed you the maturity breakdown with the majority of your portfolio being in that 1 to 2 and 2 to 3 year space. You'll note the year-to-date change in yield in that part of the yield curve has been dramatic, and again has been very beneficial to you all in the form of price appreciation, in the form of total return as well. The Fed, I'd be remiss if I didn't speak to the Fed. The Fed has cut rates. They did so twice in the course of the third quarter. They cut in July as well as September. Again, those falling rates, good for fixed income investors. They did so. They cited weak global growth as well as trade policy uncertainty and muted inflation as reasons to do so. They're trying to prop up the economy. If you look at this chart, again, a snapshot of the action the Fed has taken, you'll note only 2 steps down in interest rate cuts by the Fed. They actually have since taken action again in October. So we've seen 3 rate cuts this year. And again, it's kind of a good and a bad thing. They've done so, again, to prop up the economy. They've also noted that they're going to pause at this time to sort of let their actions take hold in the economy. But the bad to it is that also will mean less income available to fixed income investors like yourself. So I mentioned that we'll be hard-pressed to get returns like we saw last year in the 4% range. We still think you'll see positive returns, but a lot of that return is going to be driven by the income that the school district receives and less so by price appreciation in fixed income. And the reason being, again, is we don't think interest rates are going to do much from this point forward as the Fed pauses and the economy may kind of move sideways. We don't anticipate recession. The Fed doesn't anticipate recession. They think they've done enough to keep that from occurring. So I don't want to end it sort of on gloom and doom here because, again, our outlook is somewhat favorable from an economic standpoint, from a fixed income standpoint. The last page I'll end on is just to point out that I mentioned earlier that the Fed cited weakening global growth. And this chart can be a little bit misleading in that there's a lot of red on it. And I don't want you to think that that means that there's negative growth. But just the takeaway here is that there's slowing growth. It is going lower and slower, but not negative. So growth is still positive, and that's a good thing, albeit, again, not as as strong and as stellar as we'd like to see. So again, I don't want to end on a low note. The global economy is poised to grow. The U.S. is poised to grow. Interest rates are still higher than where we were 2, 3, 4 years ago. So that's going to be a benefit to you and will, again, drive the overall returns for the school district going forward. So let me stop there. I think I may have gone over my 5 to 7 minute time block there, but let me see what questions you have. I've thrown a lot at you.
I guess Mr. Weissayer has his light on.
Thank you, Chair. So, not that it probably matters, I agree with everything that you said and deal with this a lot in my professional life and some of the organizations that I oversee and the funds that I help manage for individuals, companies, and organizations.
Okay.
What, if anything, are you guys looking at as far as repositioning any of our assets as we move through this next quarter, half year, going into the latter part of 2020 and preparing for the inevitable, whether it be in a year or 2 or 3, which I don't think we'll get to. But are you guys starting to look at some asset reallocation and some shifting of funds to realign with what we're anticipating the markets to do?
I would say our position is going to really remain pretty consistent here. I referenced earlier that about 3/4 of the portfolio is in Treasury and agency securities, and another 20% in corporate notes. And a lot of that is driven, one, by your investment policy, right? That really governs what we do at the end of the day. And then by state statute, which really, again, says safety and liquidity is most important. So I think you'll continue to see a large portion of the portfolio in treasuries and agencies. Additionally, what I would point out is that treasuries, oddly enough, we've been finding offer, in some cases, a greater yield for similar maturities relative to agencies. Okay, so spreads have become very narrow and very, very tight, so that it's been hard to find opportunity outside of treasuries. And again, other than corporate notes. Okay, so I would say in the near term, I don't see a lot of change. I see us being very selective in the corporate note names that we do add, with being sensitive to the fact that the economy is slowing, that we have to be even more diligent in the names that we add in the portfolio. But I think globally speaking, I don't see any real major change in the way we're positioning the portfolio. I hope that isn't too long-winded an answer for your
fine.
question.
It makes perfect sense.
Okay.
Let me rephrase a little differently, just as follow-up. Is there any sector that, and not any sector in general, that you see the highest level of risk for, that we need to be looking, or you guys need to be looking at on our behalf within the portfolio that we're currently managing?
I would say if you really had to point to one that may be considered or perceived as most risky, it would be corporates, right? They're the most tied to the overall economy. So, but with that said, we don't have any concerns about the names that we own, and we don't have any concerns about the economy at this point. So that would be the one sector, I think, where we keep a very close eye as we get out 9, 12 months, which is when, the risk of recession could become much greater. Yeah. Does that help?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Board, anything else? No?
Good, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you
for your time. We appreciate it.
Just reading into the record that information on Audit Advisory Committee, on charter school audits, on other audits, and risk assessment to develop proposed fiscal year 2019 internal audit plan are in the packets. And that concludes our information agenda items. I will go ahead and call right now then the pulled item 12.01, which seeks the approval of the First Amendment to the contract for real estate broker services.
Mr. Chair, just keep in mind, I will be abstaining from this vote, and I have filed the proper
On the 12.01?
This is 12.01.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That'll be
Never
next.
mind. I was really ahead.
All right. So, Mr. Weiser, you have the floor.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. I would make a motion to postpone voting on 12.01 till a December 10th board meeting so that I can have further conversation with the superintendent and legal counsel about the contextual changes of the contract. This is directly related to our real estate services contract that the board most recently approved, and I just want to have a little bit more conversation about the change to make sure I understand and wrap my head around the rationale behind it. So that'd be a motion to postpone till December 10th.
I'll second the motion.
I'm good with
All
that.
right. So all those in favor of postponing, and you want it brought back, would that be enough time for you?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I guess the motion is to postpone until the December 10th board meeting.
Yes, sir.
All right. All those in favor, please state your vote. Aye?
Aye.
All right. The vote passed 4-0. Okay.
Chair, I'd make a motion to approve 14.01.
All right. I'll second the motion to approve 14.01.
Just for the record, I am abstaining from 14.01, and I have filed the proper paperwork.
Thank you, Ms. Castillo. All right, so any other discussions or comments on this item, 14.01? All right, hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
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 Vote passed 3-0. And that brings us to Business and Finance, which is item 14. We have one, I'm sorry. This brings us to Facilities. Items 15.01 through 15.20 can be approved with a motion on 15.21, if anyone wants to make that motion.
Chair,
I'll make
I
a
would-
motion.
Please.
Sorry, I make a motion to approve 15.01.
Very well.
21, I apologize. 15.21.
Go ahead.
Second.
All right, so I hear a motion to approve item 15.21 by Ms. Castillo, second by Mr. Weiser. Any further comments? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
The vote passes 4-0. I guess that ends the agenda items that we need to vote on. At this point, at this time, our next item is the superintendent's recommendation.
Yes, sir, and we, I believe, concluded our discussion for today in our workshop about the Canoe Creek Charter School opportunity. I will be continuing with staff and Mr. Kruppenbacher to research that particular situation and hope to have additional information for the board before December the 10th. Also, though, I would ask the board to consider adding a strategic plan mid-year workshop on January the 21st from 3 to 5. We currently don't have workshops. We always do our biannual review, one in January and then again in June, of updates on the strategic plan, assess where we are with all 5 goals, allow staff to report back to you the data that we're monitoring, and I just apologize that we didn't get that on the agenda that you voted on last week, if that's the board's pleasure.
Yes, I'm in favor of that. Board, anyone wants to come?
21.
January 21st, we have a regular board meeting at 5:30, so 3 to 5 is what we would ask for. Thank you, that's all I have.
Next item is the attorney's report. Mr. Kuppenbacher?
Only report is I wish you all a wonderful Thanksgiving.
That's a good one. All right. Next item is unfinished business. Superintendent?
3 o'clock.
None.
I'm sorry.
No, it's listed as none. The new business for school board, if there's any? Yes, Mr. Weiser?
Well, maybe not new business. I had,
Comment.
yeah, just comment. So
All right.
nothing. I just have a brief comment I want to make.
Very well, then, board member comments, and the only person that listed is Tim, but anyone else, of course, can. Mr. Weiser, please proceed.
Thank you. I just wanted to just provide some clarity. Board, as you know, at the last school board meeting, we voted regarding redistricting, specifically impacting Bella Lago. There's been a little bit of misunderstanding in the community, and I just thought it would be appropriate to make sure that I clear that up, that Bella Lago will continue to maintain itself as it's been. It is a charter school with an EFBD managed by the school district. Nothing's changing. That school will continue to operate as it's always operated, and the only change that's been made is that the school board voted to amend the attendance zone boundaries and the communities that will attend Bellalago Academy, but otherwise nothing else is changing with the school, the structure, the format, or anything associated with it. And I felt it appropriate to make that comment publicly at the school board meeting so that it would help clear up any miscommunication that's happening in the community at this time. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Weissier, for clearing that up. And finally, we get to the fun part, right? And our student representative, Nina Vandenberg. Folks, let's get a moment just to get to know her and have some input about, let's start just with just your general observations and what do you think about all this? What?
I don't really have.
Oh, you don't have to speak. All right, but did you get the 80s reference?
No, not really.
All right, so what happened?
I barely got it.
I'm a 2000s
Hey, but I
kid.
understand.
Years after the reference.
Miss Vandenberg, isn't it true that, a lot of high school kids, young folks, they have an interest in the 80s, right? For historical purposes, music, culture, and art.
Yeah, more 90s, 2000s.
90s, 2000s.
Ask me, I'm the one with the teenage
No,
daughter.
wait a minute, but this is her time. So do you want to know a little bit about the reference briefly?
Sure, why not?
All right, so look.
I mean,
Look, the 80s,
I make a motion, no.
the 80s was a very interesting time. When I was your age,
No,
I actually...
don't go there.
Under advice of legal counsel.
We used to have this thing called Cold War, and anyways, that song is almost like a history lesson. So I'll encourage you to go ahead and go to Spotify. Use Spotify.
Song, Chairman.
Oh,
99 balloons.
or Red Balloons for the English version. So 99 Red Balloons.
that's a song.
And Spotify, is that what you use?
I use Apple Music.
Oh, Apple Music.
Just not going, just not going.
Yeah, you're just, I'm sorry.
Well, look, welcome. I hope that you have fun. I mean, next board meeting, we're going to give you an opportunity to give us some of your input and whatever message you want to carry from your school or from your peers to us. We're all ears, and we are eagerly anticipating your comments for the next time. Board, is there anything further?
Yeah,
Oh,
just-
Mr.
Just for the record, educators in Florida have a particular nuance to a contract many people don't realize. Once they've executed a contract with a district, they're in breach of their ethical duties if they're not released from it. All right? So I want the record to confirm, unless you object, that Dr. Fritz is released from his contract when he submits his resignation. I know it's technical, but in today's age, people take shots, and I don't want a shot at you or Dr. Fritz.
Should we have a workshop to discuss it further?
Are you asking us to let him go?
We didn't know we had it. Now that we know that we have options.
Just remember, we'll be with the Volusia School Board in a couple of weeks. They might be quite upset if we
Fine,
don't
I agree.
Well, he's been
Right.
legally advised not to formally resign till he has the contract he wants. So
No, we're going to release them because you know what? Now we have a county on the north that will work with us.
Guaranteed on that.
I know. And so whatever we could do to help you be successful, and of course, whatever you can continue to contribute to our community here in Osceola, we're looking forward to that. So just because you're...
Great mentor.
Yes. So we'll be seeing you around, hopefully, a lot, and you'll be seeing us. Mr. Weissier.
Yeah, I just, Chair, for your benefit, I want to make sure you're aware that we don't use flip phones anymore. We use smartphones.
Oh, my
When you
God.
open your email, it no longer says you've got mail, and people use text messaging and Facebook Messenger, not able.
It's actually called iMessaging.
That's all in my MySpace account.
We've actually used something called a touch tone. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and call it for an adjournal. Board. All right. This meeting is adjourned.